It is now 5:15. We call the meeting of the Human Rights Commission to order today. Just a reminder, we are online, although I don't believe anybody has joining us online from the Human Rights Commission, so we'll just need to take a vote here. The approval of the minutes from the previous meeting are in our agenda packet. If you want to take a look at that.
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The minutes are approved. We thank Dan for subbing in. Next is our budget report. If you'll notice the budget report, we have 66% of our budget left. We will have some expenditure if we decide to do something for the Human Rights Award, some kind of an online presentation thing, or we could talk about maybe a socially distanced one if we need to. Are there any questions on the budget report? I don't believe there are any bills coming in as far as I'm aware. If any of you are aware of any.
No.
The budget report does not require any action. So let's move ahead. We have a guest speaker today. With us today is Sue Kimmel, who is representing Welcoming Communities in New Ulm Forward. Sue, if you would like to take the microphone.
Thank you. I think it's been a while since Julie and I were here to talk about welcoming communities. So I think what I'll do is just start by explaining what it is again for those that do not know. The Welcoming Community Project is a diversity and inclusion initiative that was led by Region 9 Development Commission, the Greater Mankato Diversity Council, the University of Minnesota Extension, and the Center for Community Vitality. And the purpose with the group is to make sure that our communities again, including Springfield, New Ulm, and Sleepy Eye, just making sure that we are welcoming to all people, especially people of diverse backgrounds. And since we met, we went over the assessment that the community did, and then COVID hit, and we had a little bit of a break. But then we decided to meet online. And during that time, the racial uproar was just beginning at that time. So we decided to spend some time talking about it. What does it mean? What can we do about it? So Welcoming Communities really turned into a group of people that were just trying to process what happened in the cities with the death of George Floyd. And it was a very difficult discussion, trying to figure out why this happened, how this happened, and how does it affect our local communities. And what we found is that we really need to think about equity in our communities. And equity, of course, means that we want everyone to have the same opportunities for success, regardless of your background. And we know that some people in life get a head up when it comes to what they get from their parents or what they receive from their communities, or maybe they have a go-ahead to go to college, maybe they receive financial aid. And then there are others that don't have any of those pickups. So we began to look at diversity, and again, we wanted everyone to be equally successful in our communities, and we began to talk about the systems that run a community. And we're looking at systems such as education, criminal justice, we're looking at healthcare, we're looking at housing, and economics in cities. And when we looked at those in the broad picture, they brought up many things that were just, as a white person, we sort of live with what we've got, and we assume that we're all doing the best that we can. And we find that there are so many hidden underlying ideas and reasoning that makes a person, like us, have advantages more so than other people. So we began to look at that. And then some really enlightening things came up when people of color would speak up about how it feels, or Indigenous person, a Latino would speak up about how it really feels. And we began to hear the stories over and over and over about racism in our communities. And these are people that are trying to survive and live in communities, and they told us what it was like to live in New Ulm, to live in Springfield, to live in Sleepy Eye. And that, again, was difficult to hear. There's a lot of things that go on under the surface that you don't really experience when you're white. So in looking at that, again, the Welcoming Communities Project is filled with people that already had an inkling that something was probably going on, because in New Ulm and in Springfield both, we have very few people of color, like 1.6% or something. And why is that? So now the Welcoming Communities Project is going to be doing a project. And at this point, we're just getting together to talk about what our project might be. We began with a big group, all 3 communities together, and now it's narrowed down to, all right, New Ulm, what are you going to do about it? So we're meeting to discuss, to come up with a project to benefit our community. And I don't know what that is going to be, but when I know, I'll come back and talk to you about it if you like. So New Ulm Forward is a local organization that, again, is working on welcoming all people to our community. And we are specifically looking at welcoming diverse people and trying to find out, why do we have so few people in New Ulm that come from diverse backgrounds? What is it about New Ulm that, it just isn't working for a person with color? And so we began to look at our systems. And we just finished looking at employment, and that particular Zoom was in the papers, so I don't know how many of you saw it, but it appears that employment is pretty good in New Ulm, that even during this time of COVID, we have jobs available. In fact, there are certain businesses that really need workers in New Ulm. We looked at housing, and it was an excellent presentation on housing, and employment was too. And in housing, there are lots of options for housing, from apartments to small homes to large homes. And the employment office, or the housing department, does a wonderful job of trying to fit community people together with the appropriate housing. And there are lots of programs for people too. So that was surprising. It was surprising. So you know what? It's not housing. Though I have to be honest that there are times that housing is an issue because there isn't something at the moment, but then something will come up. So it's not necessarily housing. And New Ulm Forward will be looking at healthcare, and we'll also be looking at our criminal justice system. And then we're going to look at education too. So those 5 systems that really make a community go. Is there anything in there that we could help with in talking about equity? I've done just a little bit of talking with some local educators, and because I have been an educator, I understand that system a little bit. And I talked to a superintendent of schools about equity, and it was a great conversation about certain things that I have learned that I shared. And it's a lot of discussing and what's working, what's not, just being concerned about it and trying to find an answer. And it's really important that we not be judgmental if we find something, because truthfully, we are, I think, doing the very best that we can. But I think sometimes we just forget, or we don't realize how important our community is and how welcoming it needs to be for all people. we've had a lot of people in these groups just throw out some zingers about New Ulm, which I don't need to repeat here because everyone has an opinion, about New Ulm and what we can do to improve New Ulm. But I think the first step is really investigating our systems, and that's what New Ulm Forward is trying to do, is to investigate those systems and see if there's anything that we can do. New Ulm Forward has been really successful in having a family table where people get together and we share food and we share lives and we share ups and downs. But of course, we haven't been able to do that since about January. So we took a month off, and then we have been doing Zooms just to check in on people and to see how you're doing. And then we have Zooms where we really get down to the nitty-gritty of equity. Sometimes there are barriers there, and if there is a barrier, one of the surprising things that has come up as a barrier is transportation. Childcare is a barrier for employment, and then also we have people that have food shortages, and I don't know if those are going to be the New Ulm or Welcoming Communities projects or not, but those are just some of the things that are right out there as red flags. We need to do something about that. So that's where we stand at the moment. Do you have any questions? And I guess I can't say enough how proud I am of New Ulm. I think the German heritage of New Ulm is very special. I really do. It sets us off from another community, but I think that there are also other festivals, other things that are going on in New Ulm. German is great, but so are other things. So are other cultures. So are other heritage events. And, it's time that we think about it. We need more people in New Ulm. We need more people that are willing to work here, people that are willing to stay here and give us a try. And we need more people to be very welcoming and friendly. The population of New Ulm is declining, and that's not okay. We're aging, and we love our senior citizens, but we need to continue learning and growing and understanding our neighbor so that this community can grow and prosper.
Just a note, Sue, you might want to keep in contact with us because we've contacted the Greater Mankato Diversity Council about having some community talks and educational things on racism and what it is. That's just means of education kind of part, what's going on as part of our outreach in the Human Rights
Good.
Commission.
Very good.
So maybe we could coordinate to make sure we don't duplicate efforts along those lines. Now, we've too been stymied a little bit because the program is supposed to be more of an in-person kind of thing. So we've kind of stalled on that a little bit because of the COVID, but hopefully we can get at that.
Right.
Yeah, we have
And
the
I-
funding approved and everything.
Right.
That's all we're waiting on is how can we maybe change the program so it can work if we're not able to meet in person.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I know St. Paul's Lutheran Church is having an event in the beginning of October, and they're having speakers come in to talk about racism, which I think is a wonderful step.
Right, it's a community event.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have a couple of activities with New Ulm Forward that I just want to talk about. I'm going to go to my calendar here. Unless you have other questions of me, otherwise I'll.
Just so everybody knows, there's a good handful of people involved with the Welcoming Communities project
Yes.
from New Ulm,
Mhm.
15 or 20 at least,
Yep.
on and off. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Some of you.
right.
Thank you.
Some of us, right.
On October 15th, at 7 o'clock, there is going to be a peace event in New Ulm. And this is going to be sponsored by New Ulm Forward. And then also, I have been talking to Larry about this event too, through the Human Rights Commission. And then also, I have been in contact with the Equity for New Ulm group. And the three of us together would like to have a peace rally in New Ulm. During this time, this particular time, there's a bit of a stress and tension on our communities just because of what's happening politically, just because of, if you listen to the news, you feel this sense of angst. And it is our feeling that during this time it would be wonderful to have a peace rally. And we have chosen October 15th because it is the 51st commemoration of the March on Washington, D.C. And of course, that was the march to end the Vietnam War. And so that's why we chose that date. But what we would like is for citizens of New Ulm to come to Center and Broadway, and they're going to notice that on the sidewalk there will be different markings, and we're going to mark 6 feet apart, and we're going to just stand from 7 to 7:30, and we're going to hold candles or a flashlight if that's better for you, and it's open to all people, open to all families, and we're going to stand from 7 to 7:30. And the purpose is really to share this sense of abiding love with our fellow community people, and to let people know that New Ulm cares, and that we're there, and we're thinking about peace. And we'd like a peaceful political transition. We'd like to have this sense of peace instead of this sense of concern. And so we're going to do that again on October 15th at 7 p.m. Please wear a mask. We're going to be standing 6 feet apart, and bring a candle. And it's just going to be quiet. We're going to stand there quietly with our candle for 30 minutes, and then we'll disperse. And then in November, New Ulm Forward is going to have a book study, and that's November 17th. At 6:30, we're going to have a Zoom book study, and we're going to be talking about Wendell Berry's book, The Hidden Wound. So a book discussion. This is our second actual book study for New Ulm Forward. Okay?
Okay. What would you like us to do with the march? Be involved as a Human Rights Commission as far as we can, or would you like some kind
what
of an
would be
endorsement?
nice would be to bring some sidewalk chalk about a half hour before the event, and then we'll mark off our 6 feet. That would be really helpful. Again, meeting on Broadway and Center Street, and then we'll stand just along Broadway. We'll keep going, marking off spots with our sidewalk
Are you
chalk.
going to take care of the publicity for this
Sure,
with the local? Is New Ulm Forward going to handle the publicity for this?
yes.
Okay.
We will.
So it's not going up Center Street, it's just all on Broadway.
Right, all on Broadway. We do have permission to do this by the chief of police and the public health nurse, so good to go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Good. Thanks, Sue. Okay. Next item on our agenda then is the events committee report for the Human Rights Award. We talked about a possible online ceremony last time. Have we made any progress on that?
None, sir.
That's okay. Should we try and set a target for sometime in November, maybe? Before the end of the year?
Yeah, that would,
I don't know what we could, we could talk to Nate about setting up an online Zoom, or find someone who has a Zoom account and set that up. Invite members of the community for that.
and I think the big thing would just be to publicize who we chose and, have a write-up
Right,
in the paper.
press release,
Might even be
yeah.
a bigger thing than getting caught up on a Zoom meeting. If that's what it's hinging on, is how we can get together and actually,
We could have
Give it
a
in
place where
person,
we
yeah.
have, someone could present the
right.
award to the recipient, and then recipients, and then together we could have that on the thing, and then have a celebration sort of online.
I mean, it can be as easy as that if that's our holdup.
Yeah.
Give it publicized and in the paper and some of those kind of things will get as much mileage and recognition for it as we would a
Just an in-person.
get together. I mean, right now, yeah.
For sure.
Would we want to do this like in coordination with a meeting?
Yeah, maybe we could just do that.
Yeah.
That'd be the easiest thing, wouldn't it? Just invite whoever we award to come to maybe our next meeting and hand it out.
We could do that, yeah. Typically, what we've done in the past is we've had food, obviously, but you
Yeah.
could,
But-
brief reception and a guest speaker of some kind.
Yeah, and I think we're just gonna have to tone that down and
Yeah.
And
do
yeah.
it for now.
And maybe tie in what we plan to do with the the Greater Mankato Area Diversity Council, have them, or in with the publicity, mention that will be coming.
Yeah. Yeah, Lisa's very good about getting out the public press release. So if we
Yeah.
want to prepare, do we want to do this at our next October meeting or
We essentially have
November meeting?
a nomination that we're gonna.
We already
don't
have,
have-
we have
we
a
already have
recipient.
that,
We
we
have not
already-
announced it yet publicly.
Right,
just
that's what I
need
mean.
to
So
get-
yeah, I say we don't wait. Let's just do it at our next meeting.
We just need
Would
the
be my-
plaque.
And we give them a plaque and a plaque only.
Yep,
How long did that take last year to get done?
can't
I believe it
imagine.
was about 7 to 10 days.
So we could do next
can do that.
meeting.
Okay, you want to plan on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's plan on that.
Says
then.
all of us that are in the committee, so do you wanna do it?
I'm on the committee.
Oh, you
Who took care of the,
And
who
Chad
took-
and I are.
Who took care of
Only
the
two.
plaque? Chad, was that
did.
you? Could you
Okay.
take care of that again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the rest was all like invitations and planning food and stuff and events, and we
Yeah.
don't have to deal with all of that. So really the plaque is.
But we could invite, I'll contact the recipient, we could invite them to the, have their friends and associates Zoom in for that, at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we allowed to have people here?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it
As
would be
long as they're
limited,
socially
but-
distant, yes.
So
And
how,
masked.
could we ask them to bring, like maybe if they just had immediate family,
Yes,
that
they
would still
could
be
certainly-
allowable
yeah.
here?
I'm guessing
Or several
10,
members of
10
the group.
people additional, looking at the chairs that are there.
Yeah,
Is that a rough guesstimate of 10 to 15 people we could handle?
15 might be pushing it, but
Yeah.
I
we
would
should
say
find out
8
exactly what
8 to
square
10.
footage.
8 to 10? Okay.
yeah,
Of course, if they're family, they can sit closer.
yeah,
Not to us.
In
so
one
that it's-
household.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay,
all right.
All right, good plan.
I feel good about that.
all right, good. Chad can take care of that.
Typically, we have invited,
A guest speaker. or
well,
something.
yeah, and past members of the commission.
Right.
We've sent invites out. If we're going to create a Zoom event, should we?
Yeah, I said we'll send out the Zoom event, and then we'll send out invitations to the, to former members, right?
Right.
Just because of my lack of technical abilities, if we have them on Zoom, then if we break for our regular meeting, then that Zoom period ends? Or can they stay on Zoom and be participant in our meeting for the rest of
They
the
could
time?
leave.
Or,
If
well,
they
wouldn't it
want.
be-
I mean, I know we're on
Yeah.
later.
But isn't the public's invited to what we're doing right now, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
it
it's
wouldn't be
always
any- it
open
wouldn't be
to
any
public,
different.
so
would
it
be
can
the
just
same link,
stay.
I would think. We don't have to do a
Correct.
separate link for
Yep.
people. We would just
Yeah.
give them that link.
Correct.
Yep. And then they can just leave if they want.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, okay.
Do we need a motion, or are we all sort of in agreement on that?
I don't know.
I don't think we need, if I sense consensus, I can call it consensus. I think I
Sense
have the
it.
capacity to do that. I think we're all on the same page on that one. We're
Okay.
good?
Yeah, sounds
Yep.
like a
Okay.
good plan.
So then, just to review, Chad, you'll take care of the plaque, I'll take care of the press release, and get that to Lisa, and the invitations out to past HRC members,
Would
and
this
I'll
be
contact the
an
recipient.
email invite?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Yes,
usually
right.
have- Is someone gonna say something though, like a,
I'll say something. I
Okay.
think, Dan, you did last time, didn't you, as chair?
Yeah.
The last
yeah,
time we had
yep,
one, yeah.
I
Yeah,
did a-
senior center, you
Yeah.
did
Senior
the
center.
introductions.
I'll have something ready to go, and yeah, we can plan some kind of a short ceremony.
Sounds good.
for that. And then the press release will notify the press too to get a picture of that. And I'll ask if they, and usually we've given the recipient an opportunity to address the audience, and I think we'll do the same.
Yeah.
Is that agreed?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Agree.
In the past, we've had a guest speaker from the outside. I don't know if it'll get to be kind of a long meeting, I think, then otherwise.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was already gonna say, are we gonna need to block off more time than if we're gonna have it on intermingled with our meeting? I mean, we're gonna need more probably than an hour, I would guess.
You think? Otherwise, I don't
I
know
mean, it's
what
like-
other committees probably aren't gonna have anything to
Yeah, I guess not.
say.
Well,
But maybe we could just in case, just to make sure
Just
that we have
ask.
it in case.
yeah, maybe ask to give us an extra half hour. If we don't need it, great, but
Right.
so that we're not running up against something else.
Here,
Yeah.
I'll contact Lisa and find out about the scheduling for sure.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. I think a half hour would be good. Just
I
if
think
we
so
can get
too,
it.
just to budget that.
Yep.
And often we are done with our meeting in half an hour to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So an hour would be probably pretty good.
Yep.
Everything's
Okay.
just.
Yeah, but as far as a guest speaker, I don't really know.
I think
could-
our times
I
are
don't
different.
think
I don't think we
so.
need
I
to
don't
do
know that
it.
that'll work.
Okay,
No, I don't think so either.
unless we invite like maybe Bukata to come, since he's gonna be coming and speaking with us anyway, based on what we're putting together. That would be my only thought.
Let's
Yeah.
you and I talk about that.
Okay.
That could get kind of long, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It might, yeah.
If he's coming, maybe we can talk to him about maybe a brief statement or
Okay.
something. Because he knows Sue from the Welcoming
Yeah,
Communities project.
Right. So I was thinking I could tie it all together.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other questions on that? Moving ahead then to the Education Committee, Wendy, do we have any status from Bukata? Any
Other
updates?
than, we had connected and it was right when school was starting, so I had just
Okay.
asked for a personal reprieve on that, just to get going with everything that we're managing with school. So we were gonna connect after this first month, which is coming up next week, so.
So can we maybe let's try and have a report for next time, if nothing else, an update?
Yeah.
Okay, Public Relations Committee, we formed the Public Relations Committee, and there was some question as to the scope and range of what we could and couldn't do. I contacted the city lawyer, Attorney Hippert, and we talked about that, and he thought we could have any committee we wanted to do, and he thought, in his opinion, what we did was okay. And he said we should check the bylaws to make sure, and I didn't have a copy, and we since did, and we're good. And I think there's a letter that we sent from the Public Relations Committee. I think you all got a copy when it was published. That was the joint letter with Chief Dave Borchert and the New Ulm Human Rights Commissioner. We didn't add everybody else's name because officially we didn't meet on that, so that's not that we were dutifully neglecting you or leaving anybody out, but we just did it that way.
It was either that or we had to have a meeting.
Yep.
so.
Right,
Yep. And that's why we have that, right?
right.
Yeah, and kudos to you, Larry. That was I thought it was a great letter.
It was a kind of we had a joint operation and a long interview with Chief Borchert with Wendy. Wendy
Yeah.
was a big part of that,
Okay.
getting that going.
You know,
Thank you, Wendy. Yeah, and I thought bringing in, the chief of police to do the joint statement was very, very effective. Very well done.
Yeah, I don't think did we get any flack for that in the
there wasn't any response that I saw.
in letters to the editor? I didn't see her any either. So,
But that was the powerful piece tying in the New Ulm Police Department, because then what could be said? you
Yeah.
know, I mean, against it, so it was effective.
and we'll talk more about the Public Relations Committee a little bit later on. And then item 7.2 we had in our one of our previous meetings, we discussed the possibility of drafting a vetting process to make recommendations to the city council. That if anyone in the city, I would imagine, is going to engage in some kind of contractual agreement with the city would conduct some kind of a vetting process, other than
Low bid.
low bid. Thank you. I couldn't think of the right word. Yes, other than low bid. In addition to low bid, I guess. Not
Right.
other than, but in addition to. Yes.
Right.
Are we still interested in pursuing that draft?
Who would draft the draft?
Well, we would. We would.
Okay.
As our role as the Human Rights Commission, one of our goals is to advise the city on human rights issues. So that would serve under that. And nothing says that they have to follow our advice, but I'm just saying that's part of our role as an advisory role within the city context. And so I think that I talked to our city manager on this, and he did some research for us and found that he was not aware of any other vetting processes that we had within the city, and he was not aware of other communities that had a vetting process.
Are we
But that doesn't limit us to, nothing says we can't be the first, so.
are we proposing a vetting process or asking the city to implement one? And if so, are we working with them on it, or how does that work?
I suppose that's how we could start, was simply, we could contact the city council in an official letter, say, would you be willing to consider exploring a fuller vetting process for bids for contractual work within the city?
Okay.
What if they say no?
Well, then
That's our answer.
they say no.
But we could still, in our capacity here, write up something as a recommendation to them too. I mean, that wouldn't stop that process.
No, right.
Okay.
Including those parts of the
Right.
human right, I mean, of the issues. I'm sure there's other issues that they may want to add to it.
Correct.
Or look at it, but at least put from our perspective on things.
It would only be an added layer of protection for them, so
That's
you would
right.
think they'd want to approve
At least
something.
explore it, at least
Right.
discuss it, yes.
I could certainly draft something, although, yeah, maybe you and I could. I'll draft something, but I might need some
Sure.
help with exactly what we're asking.
And we can contact the city manager to get some input too ahead of time.
Okay.
Nothing says we're limited to working just solely and alone. And maybe even a city council president would be worthwhile giving them a heads up.
And that would make a lot of sense to all work together.
Correct, yeah.
You know, how wild.
Imagine that, yeah. Okay, so let's try and get that, if nothing else, if we can get that maybe done by the end of the year, that'd be, I think, worthwhile taking a look at, huh?
Sure.
That sound reasonable?
Yep.
Okay.
And just for clarification, when you're writing, you said you were going to draft, you're talking about a draft something to ask them if they would like to, right? To work with us?
Yes.
Not drafting a vetting process.
Yeah.
Okay. You're drafting the request. I just want to get it right with what I'm
Right.
writing down.
Yeah.
At least we're starting on it.
Yep.
This is something we're starting from scratch on, so. Okay, and we did talk, then I'm gonna move ahead.
Mhm.
Okay. We did talk about our social media policy, that the city already has in existence a social media policy. And that was in regards to our posting, Facebook,
Mhm.
Chad, was that? Our
Facebook, Twitter,
Facebook and Twitter.
social media.
Right, social media outlets. So we need to have someone willing to do that and also willing to follow the policy via the city, which has to be, I think, basically, if I'm shortening it up, okayed by the city manager and probably the city attorney at some time before we post it. Or he'll contact the city attorney.
And
That's it.
also the head of the TAC department has to be
All right,
involved with that
and
as
Nate,
well.
yes, okay. Is Nate the head of the tech, Mayor? Okay.
Is that just to post something on Facebook?
No, that would be to actually start
An account?
an account.
Okay.
So if we're following the policy, which we would like to do, do you want
Yes,
to, okay, take the lead on that,
Yes.
Chad, and then report back to us in October?
I can do that.
All right, that sounds great. Is anyone aware of any current human rights issues? Other than what's been in the news, but still,
I was gonna say, but we're just focusing on
Where
the
should we
water.
start on that list?
yeah. Anything probably local, I think, is what we're thinking here. I haven't heard any reports on the graffiti wall.
There hasn't been any, I mean, there's still people that are going down periodically and checking it, and there haven't been any issues.
Right, and we got a very positive response from the Parks and Rec Department about them getting to it as soon as they can.
Yeah, they quickly went out
Yeah.
and painted, and I don't think anything has happened since.
Right. Which is good.
Maybe there's more PD circling down in that area. I don't know.
I think they said they were gonna do that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Chief Orchard is very good about
Yep.
keeping us informed on those things too.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Anything on legislative updates? Dan, have you heard anything? I haven't.
Not legislatively, but so the Minnesota Court of Appeals did rule recently. It may have been today, as a matter of fact. What is today? Monday. So yeah, I believe it was today that schools must allow students to use the bathroom of their
Okay.
gender identity.
Okay.
So, and I believe we may be the first state.
To do that?
Yeah,
That was just today?
I believe so. Yeah.
I just heard they started doing that in prisons in California too.
Oh, really?
Because we literally just had an issue at our school today where this was, but this must have been afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it probably takes a little while to get out to the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just ironic, but, okay, cool.
Yeah. I think this will. There are ways around that in most communities. If you have a family bathroom, that's one way of
Mhm.
handling the issue.
Yep.
You know. So when new construction should all have 3 bathrooms in. I think that alleviates the complaints from both sides and
Yeah.
the concerns. So. Okay. Moving on then, city council liaison, anything to report?
That's me, and the only thing was just the budget. They talked about that.
Okay. And they didn't cut us out?
Of the budget?
Yeah.
No, but I don't think they gave us what we asked for.
Okay.
Not quite, but
Okay.
that's okay. I think
We'll have enough.
we'll be okay.
We'll be okay. Okay. All
That's
right.
good to hear.
Yeah.
Because there is little or no money. And next year it'll even be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know there's one $5,000 request that's been turned down flat.
Mayor, is there a were city governments eligible for the PPP program?
So who,
The PPP federal program for wage, the CARES Act?
oh, I'm not sure, but I think, if it's available, I'm sure there's some that are working on
Okay. Good.
it. Chris is very good.
Yeah, they were using some CARES Act funding for things. In the last meeting, they were discussing that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And everything has to be in by and paid for by November 15th, I
Yes.
believe.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So they are involved in that, which is good.
But
Okay.
sometimes I miss some of the sidelines.
It's okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving. 11.1 on our agendas was Sue Kimmel coming, so we're done with that. And then I'm gonna go ahead to the, I'm gonna skip 11.2 and go right to 11.3 since they're related and one, I think, influences the other. If you notice the copy of the bylaws, which were last passed in 1996, according to this document, if you turn to the Human Rights Commission's bylaws, I'm going to ask you to go right to the very end first. The last time they were reviewed in 96, and they were amended and approved in 94. The amendments to these bylaws shall be reviewed by the Executive Committee each year and amended as needed by a majority of the Commission members present at any regular or special meeting of the Commission, providing 10 days prior notice of the proposed amendments has been given. So we will, if we need to change these, we should make some changes and then notify the our current members 10 days in advance of our next meeting before we can pass them. I looked at them and I had Dan look at them right at the beginning of the meeting, and if you'll notice them, and City Attorney Hippert is interested in these too as well, that if you'll notice under going back up to the beginning, the Human Rights Commission meetings, under meetings, has us listed as the second Tuesday of every month. Now we have the flexibility of changing that, so we might want to update that. Everything else I don't think it needs changing. And then if you'll notice item 3, officers, we have a chairperson, vice chairperson, a legislative chairperson, and a secretary. We don't have a legislative chairperson. That's part of the officers. So we might want to discuss that and talk about that. And I think this could be referred to the executive committee, but it would be nice to get some input on that here before we make some recommended changes. And then it has brief officer descriptions. And then under number 4, the committees, it does say that there should be a permanent executive committee, and I think this is the first time we've really operated that under that function in my tenure here. Wendy, you outlived me by a little bit, but
Yeah, it's the first time.
okay. But it's certainly within our scope of doing that, and it says that the chairperson shall have the authority to form staff committees as needed, which we did. So forming of the Public Relations Committee, we were certainly within the bounds of our bylaws. Budget, I don't think anything has changed. Quorum, majority of members present and in good standing. And then right down to membership, it says the member commission shall consist of 15 members. And the rest of it is all, I think, as we've been following. But we're at 9, and we've been at 9 since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So we might want to amend that. Now, okay. You don't want to find 6 more people there? I think it is. Well, the reason we hadn't addressed that, Lisa sent me a note, and she said there had been a committee. There was a committee, and I was telling the mayor before the meeting, there was a subcommittee, Jackie, Tim. I was on that, and there was one other person. Were you on that, Dan?
I was there.
Yeah, Dan was the other one on there, where we talked about the bylaws, and we made some recommendations and some changes. We met, spent a good amount of time doing that. But at that point, that was when the city had the commission charter study going on, and so we paused, and then we never got back to it once that was completed, and we should have. So I was trying to find my minutes for that, and I maybe locate that. But these are the kind of changes we need to make in the bylaws. And the only one of membership that we were considering was youth membership from the high schools. that we're gonna add 2 youth members.
Yep.
So we should think about that and add that to the bylaws if we want to do that as part of our membership.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Just looking at it, it just something in there that the Human Rights Commission may, at its discretion, add what did we call it?
Yeah.
Student members or
Student, yeah.
I can't remember what exactly we call it, but just something in there that it's we don't have to have it, but at least. And I think when we went through the process that, it was fine. We could
Right.
go ahead and do it. There wasn't any issue with it. I just don't think that there was a lot of interest at the time. So, but yeah, maybe memorializing that in the bylaws is a good idea.
Okay. I'm open to comments on that, and then I think that's all I had. If anybody wants to add some comments, what I will do, here's what the plan is, I will have the executive committee prepare changes as we discuss in this meeting and ship them out to you 10 days prior to our next meeting so we can adopt them officially.
Okay.
So if you have some input, now's a good time, or you could email me and I'll make sure the executive committee gets that.
And then I think we do need to note too that at the bottom it says that we were supposed to be reviewing this every year,
Right.
which
Yeah.
has been since like 94. We kind of.
Well, I think it was reviewed in 96.
I was going to ask you about this because it says 94 in the
Yeah.
minutes, but it's 96.
Yeah, I think that's what the documents is, dated 96.
Okay, so the 94 date is what then?
That's when it was amended. And they must have reviewed it in 96 then.
Okay, so the last.
And there's just no changes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this should be an annual event at one of our meetings, probably the February meeting. Because we held elections in January. So then the February meeting would be a good time to review the bylaws.
Okay.
I'll try and get Lisa to
Yeah.
plug that into our agenda every year from now on.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Willing to listen to input here, folks.
I have no input at this time.
Makes sense.
Pleading the fifth, Deanna, is that what we're doing? Okay. Again, I want to reiterate, if you have some ideas for our bylaws, and I will consult with, I'll keep the city manager in the loop, as well as Attorney Hippert, who would like to see these, and I'll tell him, here's the old ones, here's what we're planning on doing, just so he's in the loop as well.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, no,
actually.
right ahead.
So if we change it from 15, what would the number be?
Well, we go to our current number 9.
9,
Yeah.
and then 2 youth.
2 student or whatever,
Yeah.
as
Possibility.
as available, yeah.
Okay,
That sound,
sounds good.
that's what we were headed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Supper hour's creeping in, right? It's like
I know.
teaching a first hour class, right? Everybody's drifting. Okay, so we'll assume that we can, we'll try and have that done by our next meeting. Hopefully that'll just be a simple, here they are, any questions, pass. All right. Since then, if we go back up, we can prepare a job description for the Public Relations Commission or committee of that, and then there are. I think what Lisa was suggesting was that we include descriptions of both the Education Committee and the Events Committee in the bylaws. At
You
present.
need a social media.
And that's the other thing I was going to say. I think we should maybe have a social media issue. And the other question I had that we haven't really dealt with is that legislative chairperson, which we haven't had. We've had a liaison, but not a chairperson since I've been on the commission. Maybe we want to change that to a social media liaison, social media chairperson.
Yeah.
That make sense?
Yeah. Yep. I
Dan,
think that
we
would,
can-
yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
So do we want to take the legislative
Yeah.
person
remove
out?
Out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think with the way it works, I receive, and most of you receive any memos that Lisa sends out from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. I think you all get those mailings, so we're all aware of that information. And technically, we are no longer associated with the Minnesota Association of Human Rights Commissions.
Right. That's the other thing is, it talks part of the roles and responsibilities is working with them, and I know that that was kind of a tie that was severed relatively recently, and so
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
not
we
sure
should
how applicable
re-explore
it
it.
is.
Wendy, maybe you predate that.
Yeah.
I'm not picking on you. All right?
Um,
My memory, that was just as I was coming
As to
on.
why we cut ties.
I know why we cut
Okay.
ties, but I'm just saying, do we maybe want to
To revisit to see if maybe they have resolved that
change,
situation.
resolve their issues?
Are
at
they, did they disband? Because I'm not even sure it's
Even in
something that still
existence?
exists. So we can look
Just for
into
the
that.
other members, as far as and correct me if my memory is
Well.
faulty. The Minnesota Association of Human Rights Commissions, like other groups like us, have a group that they had statewide, and there was quite a bit of problem with the head person of the group who got elected president or chairperson, however you want to call it, whatever that title is, who was becoming involved in activities that were not representative of human rights commissions, and was doing things that he probably were not helping the human rights commissions across the state. I don't want to get into because I don't know if there are any legal things
Right.
out there right now or not. But we had a member from the Mankato Human Rights Commission express some concern with us, and we reacted in such a way as to also sever ties, which was an annual fee, if I remember correctly, like $50
Yeah.
fee to be a member of that.
And I don't think it was because I don't think Mankato has a human rights commission, but I can't remember who alerted us to it, but everything else you said was accurate.
Okay.
So you told me to check.
No, that's good. No,
Yeah,
I did.
good.
I'm good. Typically, and just for historical purposes, this is where they had the statewide poster and essay contest that they would sponsor
Right.
in the state, and so our winners would get advance, and so we've retained and they came up with the topic, and so that's kind of how we've wound up doing our own thing, because we're no longer.
But we still accept the topic that they suggest, is that?
No,
we haven't-
We've done our own?
We've been writing our own since
We've
we
been doing
set
our own.
ties.
Okay.
Yeah.
because there are. I'm not sure how much they're functioning.
I don't think that they are, and I
Okay.
could be wrong about that. We could look into it.
I
but-
think I'll try and check and see if I can find something out. If you know of anybody, or if you want to do some checking too, we can maybe get together and
Okay,
compare notes.
okay.
So that's some part should be written in, and maybe by next time we'll have the executive committee will have information as far as we want to join back if they're back, doing what they're supposed to be doing or not. And then the other thing was the open meeting law. Attorney Hippert and I spent a good deal amount of time talking about this, about the committees, and he thought that any committee meeting was also open to the public, which means it would have to be announced and same kind of process as we go in. And I just wondered how effective, how reasonable that is. So I'm going to continue that conversation with him as far as that goes. We don't meet a quorum. We don't necessarily. We always make recommendations to the larger group. So that I just wanted to kind of explain that to you in case you wondered why that was on there. That was. And the way he read the statute to me, he's right, the way the statute reads, but how it's interpreted is another. That's beyond my scope. But it seems to me like that's being overly restrictive to the committees of public commissions and public works, but
Well, I guess I'm finding those committees are working committees and not something that the whole public maybe needs to know until you've made some decisions about what you're going to be presented with.
Right. Well, I'm thinking specifically with the essay and poster contest,
Yeah.
so you could technically then have people who have made submissions be there while you are evaluating, and it just seems inappropriate to me, so.
Yeah,
and so I think we'll need to have some more conversations about that open meeting law for the subcommittees,
yes.
or the, rather than the commission. Okay, and then, are there any more questions on that or the bylaws? Direct your attention then, we have a note from one of our contestants. New Ulm Human Rights Commission, essay contest to the Human Rights Commission. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to research, write, and learn more about our country's and state's laws, bills, and our Constitution that helps keep us safe and free without limiting others' freedoms. Sincerely, Ella Ahrens. So it's nice printing.
Yeah.
Handwritten note that Lisa forwarded to us, so just a due note.
That's awesome.
Is there any other business? Our next meeting then is Monday, October 26th at 5:15, in which we're going to have a presentation for the
award?
the Human Rights Award.
Long anticipated.
Long anticipated. Press release, got to get that route through. Okay, good. All right,
Okay,
do I have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Oop.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Motion passes. Thank you, folks.
Awesome.